Hey, good morning. I love today's title. I titled it Permission to Fire. And in parentheses I put your provider, your school, and all the things. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first things first, if you're watching in the YouTubes, search my first and last name. It's a whole homeschool lesson in itself, Cindy Vochatzer-Murillo. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you're watching here on Facebook, drop a comment and tell me you're here. Alright, so a play on words I did today. Permission to fire. I was thinking. I know it's a very dangerous thing to do. I was thinking. Today's video is going to be about this. Permission to fire your provider. And I can say that because I have a story of Cindy, that's me, when she was 36 weeks pregnant. She went to an OBGYN that she kind of liked, kind of didn't like. I was on actually the second or third doctor at that practice because I needed the care that I needed and I wasn't getting it, so I switched to somebody else. And then after that I was like, enough is enough. I'm going to go elsewhere now, because I was seeing the writing on the wall that they were going to try to not allow me to have the birth I wanted. And I'm just going to let you know, in a big secret right here, you're in charge of everything. You are in charge of everything. It's not whether somebody lets you do this. You're in charge of everything. You have personal responsibility over yourself. And in my case, I had that over me and my unborn baby. So I wanted to have a natural labor and delivery. I didn't want to have a scheduled C-section. I didn't want to have a scheduled induction. They knew that. If you've known me for 5 minutes on any of these videos, you know that I am perfectly clear with a lot of people by opening my mouth and telling them what we're going to do, or what my plan is, as long as somebody is not in life-threatening danger, which I never was. Nobody ever was. That this was my plan, that we were going to do that. And they were working their way into scheduled induction, and I was like, nope, no way, no how. This is my first child. I don't know if I get a chance to do it again. I don't know if I have any do-overs and mulligans. So we're going to try to do it with the best information the first time possible. So I fired him. And then I know you're going to think, well, that's got to be a pain in the rear end to do that. Well, I think I just let him know that I wasn't coming back. And back when I went to this practice, they required you to prepay for all of your labor and delivery by a certain month of your pregnancy. So we had already paid for labor and delivery. So when I notified them, like a couple of weeks later, the refund check came in the mail. And I think it was actually came after I already had Ellie, because they didn't provide my labor and delivery, so they owed me my money back. And I went over to a midwife group that was mostly midwives with a few OBGYNs that were there to do things when things got a little more intense, like if you ran into a challenge or something, that's when, or if you needed emergency C-section, the OBGYNs would do that instead of the midwives. So it's alright. It wasn't a real big pain in the butt. You know, it could have been, it couldn't be, but it doesn't matter, because the outcome of what we wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish with my labor and delivery wasn't, my needs were not going to be met there, so it was time for me to move on to somewhere else. And if it would have happened on the 39th week, I would have done it. But this one happened on like the 36th, 37th week. And I know some people just stay in and be like, I came this far, I'll just write it out because it's more comfortable. And that's everybody's choice, but I'm just telling you that you'll be more happy going into a different, being uncomfortable moving practices, or taking your kid out of a school that's no longer serving them, than you will with how uncomfortable it is to live with the what would have been different if I would have done something different. Like, that's a lifetime of always wondering what if. as opposed to just jumping and doing the, hey, this is not working. I've tried. You told me I tried 3 people in that practice. I gave 3 tries. I gave it the good old college try. Actually, that's funny because that's not a very hard try. I gave it a really persistent try, and it wasn't working. And it was more important for me to have the labor and delivery that I needed than it was for me to step out and be uncomfortable in changing practices and hunt somebody down so late in the game. So my secret tip right there is, it's never too late to change to something else. So that's where my coaching comes along. If you're in a place and you're like, hey, let's do a coaching call and talk through it and see if this really is a thing, because there are always some fine finesses left and right that you have to do with some things. You might look and make sure that somebody's open before you give up your other one. It's always like that. Always find your next person before you give up your last person, just in case something goes real strange and you have to be working with insurance providers and all the things like that. So there are all these moving pieces, but it's like a fun puzzle. You just take them apart, put them back together again. So I will see you guys over in the Heart-Centered Advocacy group, and I will see you in YouTube. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.